Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's 30 Minutes program. I'm really pleased to have a gentleman in our studio today for the very first time, and perhaps a long time. We've been on the subject of helping people, and this is exactly what the gentleman that is sitting here is going to talk about. And we're talking about Bill Randolph. He is the 27th Judicial District, helping people, and his job is to be the public defender. And if you'll allow me to do so, Bill, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate the good, hard work that you do for people who need the services that you provide.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How'd you get to become a lawyer?
Well, I had a couple people tell me when I was in college and maybe a little bit younger that I would be a good lawyer, and so I thought about it and thought about some other things, but ended up settling on this.
And when did you know that you wanted to be an attorney? That's a lot of work there just to get to this level here.
Well, you know, like I said, I had explored some other avenues, but probably freshman in college, sophomore. But I kept having people tell me, you ought to be a lawyer. And my dad actually told me that. My dad told me that when I was in high school. In fact, we used to have mock trials at the house. We would with my sister, and so we each had roles. You know, of course, my dad was the judge, but we had a prosecutor and a defender and witnesses and all that. We had a mock trial.
Mm-hmm. You belong to where? Obion County, Weakley County, West Tennessee, where?
Well, I've been in Obion County for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Northwest Tennessee for almost 40.
Both Obion and Weakley counties chose you to be the public defender, which is always nice when you have people that support you. But this is a job that some people kind of look a little bit funny about because they don't know a whole lot about what goes on as the public defender. Who is the public defender? What do they do?
We represent people that are charged with crimes where there is possible jail time involved. So in other words, we don't get speeding tickets, but we get everything above that, misdemeanors, felonies, and where the person is unable to hire a lawyer.
Do you mind just kind of telling us how many cases that the public defender's office handles during the course of an average year?
Yes, around 3,300. That's we've been, you know, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but that's kind of where we are. This past year we opened 3,231, so 3,200 cases, mm-hmm. and then we closed 3,500 cases.
Mm-hmm.
So we're right around in that figure.
How do you become someone who needs a public defender? Is it because they can't afford a lawyer, or if they get into trouble, they don't know what to do, they're looking for somebody to help them?
Well, they go to court, and their first court date is called an arraignment. And at that arraignment, the judge, first of all, normally will enter a not guilty plea in their behalf, or he'll ask them, how do you plead? But he will invariably look into their attorney situation. Do you have a lawyer? And there's a series of questions that the judge asks. Do you have a lawyer? Are you going to hire a lawyer? Can you afford to hire a lawyer? And then you start getting into the questions of where do you work? How much money do you make? Do you have any kids? Do you own a home? Do you have any bank accounts? All those kinds of things. In fact, there's a affidavit of indigency that certain judges will have them fill out.
You know, this kind of goes into a lot of different directions, but how do you determine whether or not someone is worthy of the public defender?
Well, it's kind of a judgment call on the part of the court. You know, we've had them before say, or I've seen them say, I'm going to hire a lawyer, and then the judge starts asking all those questions, and the judge says, well, you know, I find that you're not able to hire a lawyer. And guess what they do? They do hire a lawyer, but in the meantime, we get appointed just to kind of nurse the case along until that happens.
So let's move a little bit further down the road here. Do you have judges that you have to go before yourself and then to represent that? And if so, who are the judges that you practice in front of? Well,
we have Judge Smith, Jimmy Smith. So that's Obion County. And I'll just start with Obion County. We have a juvenile judge there, Sammy Nayland. And then we have one judge in common. That's a 2-county office. Circuit Judge Parham, Jeff Parham has the 2 counties. Those and then
in Obion County.
Yes.
To Weakley County now.
So yes. So we have Judge Bradbury, who's about to retire on the juvenile bench, and we handle cases there.
Didn't know that.
Oh yes, we handle both counties' juvenile cases, and then Judge Tommy Moore, and again Judge Parham, because there's 4 8-year office holders in this judicial district. There's the chancellor, the circuit judge, and then there's the DA and the public defender.
There's a lot of moving parts when you have a court, and sometimes there's a lot of emotion. Sometimes there's a lot of screaming, maybe hollering until the gavel comes down.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, your job is simply to do what?
We seek justice, and we try to be sure that the law is applied, and that our clients don't get any worse of an outcome than anyone else would under the same set of facts. And so we have, we don't want, our clients are vulnerable because they may not have much education. We see this freight train coming down the track, and the government has all sorts of resources. We're just kind of doing the best we can, as opposed to, because they've got agencies everywhere. They've got the highway patrol. They got TBI. They got every single town around here has their own police department. Each county has their own sheriff's department. They all have their own investigators. So we investigate the facts, but we do seek equal justice under the law, and without that effective assistance of counsel that we provide them, then our judicial system just becomes a farce, and we absolutely have to be sure these people get a fair shake.
Public Defender Bill Randolph with us today. We're talking about what does it mean? What is it? What are the things that have to happen to get a public defender? First question behind all of that: what if they don't like you? Maybe if they happen to have seen you maybe before, and do you have a way of saying, I can't handle that case, Your Honor, or Your Honor, I don't want to be with that fellow? You ever have in those cases where you kind of felt like you need to recuse yourself?
It's rare as far as personality differences are concerned. It is rare, and if it's just personality, there might be another lawyer in the office that can handle it. But we normally try to work with that person the best we can.
And let me go back to juvenile court for just a moment. Kids are getting in trouble earlier, younger now, or not?
Yes, and we're doing stuff in both counties really that are what we call status offenses that really don't involve jail time or reform school or things like that, and they're only offenses because they are a juvenile. So let's say runaway, truancy, unruly, not obeying their parents, that sort of thing. We get those kind of cases too. In addition to the delinquent cases where they are committing what would be a crime even as an adult, that would be a crime.
Can you talk with me about some of the cases, not necessarily the case itself, but what are people messing up? What are they What kind of cases are you being presented with today?
Well, we start with drugs, and there are a lot of drug cases out there. We get a lot of simple possessions, and it's almost always meth, although it's fentanyl, sometimes fentanyl by itself, sometimes it's fentanyl-laced meth or fentanyl-laced marijuana. And so people buying this stuff on the street really don't have any idea what they're taking. So we see overdoses and that sort of thing. It is the Greek word for drugs is pharmakia. That's the word that we get pharmacy from. But their translation, the Greek translation from the ancient Greek, is sorcery. And it does make people act in a way that they would not ordinarily act. And so we see crimes committed to get the money to buy the drugs, or we see them out of their head. And most importantly, I see people that are taking these drugs and they're committing violent crimes with the drugs. Let me back up. Their brains are altered. There is organic brain damage. And so they are psychotic. And they'll never get it back. They'll never get that functioning brain power that they once had.
How do you feel about this?
Well, it bothers me a lot. You know, we have people that fall completely out of the middle class, and we have people that fall out of the upper middle class and the upper class. And I say children and grandchildren of pillars of the community. So I'm not happy with that and the damage that they do to their families.
You know, this is something that I'm glad you went a little deeper about this maybe than you normally would, but the thing that seems to be the problem today with much of the society, and that is association, staying out of church, maybe stealing something for the very first time, and being ugly to a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different moving parts. And many people, quite honestly, I believe that many people are just good people that took a wrong turn and they couldn't get their way back. Talk to me about that.
Well, I'm in drug court. I'm on the drug court team, been on the drug court team for 20 years, I guess.
Let's talk about what drug court means.
That's a proactive approach, trying to turn people from where we keep seeing them all the time to where we don't see them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put them on basically an inpatient, an intensive outpatient treatment program with the judge supervising all of it. And what they need to see every week and what they need to know, the participants, is that every single Friday they are going to see a judge. And the judge is going to be asking them questions. And they're going to be getting drug tested in between during that whole week. They'll get drug tested 2 or 3 times. And our team's very, very good about drug testing them. It's very, very tough to beat the test. But they are drug tested, and if they fail, then they are confronted, and there's consequences with that.
What are the consequences?
Well, there could be sanctions of community service to extended jail time. It could be, and anywhere in between.
Can they get kicked out of drug court?
Oh, yes. But I'll tell you this:
failure to follow the curfew, maybe.
Yeah, there's curfews, but more importantly, if they get in trouble for something else, if it's just see, what we say in drug court is we sanction or we punish hard for things that are easy to do. We punish light for things that are hard to do. So when they first come into the program, staying off drugs is hard. So let's say they got less than 30 days in the program and they got a dirty drug screen. Well, we might have them do some community service. But and it's about a 1.5 year long program. As it goes on, quitting your job, quitting a job is easy. You ought to be able to keep your job. And so if you just quit your job, that's a problem. May or may not get sanctioned for that. But getting back, and I'd be happy to talk about that all day long. But one of the things that we talk to them about is changing your people, places, and things. And you talked about associations. Yes, absolutely, because these people go to school starting in kindergarten. And I say these people, the people I deal with, and in kindergarten from, well, let's say at about age 12, they start venturing off into marijuana. They venture into alcohol. By about 16, 17 years old, they're getting into meth. During that time, their brain is maturing. Their brain is not fully developed until they're age 30. So their brain is being developed to where it needs that drug just to get by, and nothing makes them happy except for that drug. Or put it like this, maybe they're a little bit less happy. But yes, church, my goodness, that's just easy, low-hanging fruit. Go to church. Fill your life with something else. It talks about in the Bible about having swept out your house, after the evil spirits leave. I tell them, I say, you need to not just sweep out your house. You need to put something else in your house. And, but anything, it could be Rotary, it could be all kinds of things, family, hunting, fishing, just something to replace church, replace it with something.
Mm-hmm. Bill Randolph is our guest. He's a public defender here for Obion and Weakley County. We're on the subject of what's going on, why people come to court, because they're in trouble. You see what kinds of people that are out there. What are some of the criminal things that people are doing today besides drugs, and maybe somebody tough on fights his brother or gets ugly with his parents?
Yes, we see a lot of that. We've got Weakley County has several murder cases going right now, and I won't discuss those, but you asked, and we've got a truckload of high end felony cases. Your Class A felonies are going to run anywhere from 15 to 60 years with no parole. Most of those, some of them 40 minimum. Your B felony 8 to 30. And those are your felony drug cases. The C's could be anywhere, and those are 3 to 15. Those could be anywhere from car thefts to other kind of drug cases. I hate to keep coming back to drugs, but there's a whole host of aggravated assault would be right there in the C thing. We get a lot of weapon. We get felons in possession of firearms. And I'll tell you this, Paul, there's a lot of people out there that either know or should know that if they're a convicted felon, they cannot go hunting. They cannot have a gun. And a lot of them just don't get it. And guess what? That's consecutive time to whatever they're charged with to start with. Let's say they got busted for drugs and they had a gun, they had a pistol, whatever, hunting rifle. Well, that's like an automatic 10 years consecutive in addition to, and it's at 100%. So they've got issues with that, and they don't need to be doing that. We get burglaries; those are 100% crimes now. We are working with an ever shifting legislative landscape. Everything is changed. The laws are being changed yearly. The whole criminal code is being rewritten. So that's and the criminal code stayed about the same since 1989. But now it has changed, and we have to eat our Wheaties every morning before we go to work, so we have absolutely got to stay up on this because it's always changing.
You have represented, and I don't want to use the word thousands, but I suspect you probably have taken forward being the lawyer for the person who's accused, because they can't afford a lawyer. What's the difference between the public defender and another attorney on the other side?
Well, it depends on
prosecutor will use that.
Maybe I should say it depends on who the public defender is and who the other attorney is. Oh, you talking about the prosecutor?
Mm.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, a lot of the prosecutors started out in our office, so I know them, and I work with them, and I like them. So they know what we know, and we know what they know, and there's normally not too many secrets about a case, even that
because you have to share the information.
Yes. So we're all playing in that respect. We're playing on a level playing field, and along those lines, so much stuff we do now is digital discovery. We are looking at videos, dash cams, body cams. You walk into Walmart, you're going to be videoed from the time you pull in the parking lot to the time you leave, and every conceivable angle of every action you might do inside of Walmart is videoed. Fortunately, we have software now that will, let's say we want to know where the field sobriety tests are. We're sitting there watching hours of DUI footage, and yes, we do some video, some DUIs, quite a few DUIs. But we want to know where the Miranda warnings were. We want to know where the field sobriety tests are, and that's the walk and turn, the horizontal gaze, nystagmus, the one leg stand, all that sort of thing. We want to know where that's at, so we don't sit there and anytime the defendant says, I mean, it'll summarize. Because, the classic thing is after they get arrested for DUI, then they get in the back seat of the patrol car and they start talking to the officer. And invariably, they're going to say something that's going to come back and bite them. And so we want to know where that's at. And, are there any sleeping dogs out there that we don't want to wake up? So this software that we have, we will be able to find that stuff a lot quicker, and that is a time saver, because otherwise there's a whole lot of time wasting that goes on with the digital discovery.
How many people in your office of the public defender?
We have 3 full-time assistant district public defenders. We have 2 part-time assistant public defenders, and we have 2. We have a legal secretary and we have an office manager.
A lot of paperwork that has to be done.
Oh, yes. We are trying, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We are moving towards, and in Obion County particularly, we have gone largely to a paperless office, which has been just an amazing thing. And all these things I've been telling you about the digital discovery, the summaries, and all that stuff, they go into the file. Now, my lawyer that handles General Sessions Court over there, he walks in there with his phone, his computer. He just pops up the file right there. He's got everything right there in front of him. Everything. Let
me jump to a question that you pretty much categorized a number of accused felons. How many people get off? How many people win from the public defender? And a win would be not having all of the. Let me just give you the opportunity to answer that question.
Well, I mean, you were going right down the right path, and it depends on how you define win. Is it someone that gets what they should? Is it someone that's been overcharged and then gets what they should get? Is it someone that gets an outright dismissal, which happens for various reasons? Is it something that it's a reduced charge? Let's say to a misdemeanor. There are witnesses, particularly on these domestic type things, and I'm not talking about just boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm talking about mamas and daddies getting into it with their children, adult children. But there's witnesses that, because it's family, they just don't want to show up, and they just wanted the guy to go away to jail that night, and that's all they want to think about.
We've had a lot of predators, and it's everywhere. That's a case that sometimes becomes very emotional. You have someone that hurts a small child, and maybe accused of hurting a child, when in fact that wasn't the case. And that's your job, to make sure that that person who's been accused of doing something inappropriately, illegally, or whatever it happens to be.
Well, often you can almost set your clock by it. Those cases often are in the midst of some domestic turmoil, whether it be a divorce, a separation, child custody dispute, and so you can kind of do the math on that. There are cases, and this is the kind of stuff that keeps me awake at night. I had a guy charged with a double child rape, and these are the kind of cases that make a jurors, you can see the smoke coming out of their ears. That's all you have to say is child rape. But guess what? We did some investigating. We found that his phone was we got it through phone evidence. He was actually in Oregon at the time, Salem, Oregon, at the time of the commission of these offenses. It was both of those were dismissed. Now, I'd call that a win, but it wasn't a win for him because he had to go spend time in jail on something he didn't do, until we were able to get that done for him. But it's just, we had other witnesses because, he had family out in Oregon coming out of the woodworks. He wasn't even in the state of Tennessee when that happened. So yes, it happens, and it happens often. Thank heavens for digital evidence and phone evidence, because years ago that man would still be in jail and would be in jail the rest of his life.
Talking with Bill Randolph. He is the public defender for Obion and Weakley Counties, and he is there by way of the state of Tennessee, who allowed you to serve on behalf of people who are unable to get an attorney that they can feel comfortable with, or maybe because they didn't have the resources to be able to be there.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate you having me on today. I really, really do. This is a great opportunity, and I'll tell you this: we are the guardians of the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and the Sixth Amendments to the United States Constitution. Our job is the only job of these officers around that is actually mentioned in the United States Constitution. Each person charged with a crime is entitled to effective assistance of counsel. Their words, not mine. And then Gideon versus Wainwright enshrined that into law, and that's why we have public defender systems now. But I'll say this: I really do appreciate the people of Obion and Weakley Counties for giving me this opportunity to represent these people who are absolutely created in the image of God, and there is a dignity and a value to them.
Thank you so much. Bill Randolph is the public defender for Obion and Weakley County. If you need his services, the court will appoint him in most cases to satisfy the defense. I think I've said this correctly. But more importantly, someone that cares deeply about the job that you do. And I recognize that in your conversation with us today. Thank you, Bill Randolph.
Thank you.
That's our program today on 30 Minutes. Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.